Welcome to the Digitally Dreaming Off the Gridiron podcast. It has been a minute since we've been on here. I am your host, Asif Ali, and I'm joined by my co-host with the most, number 24, Cortez Branch Jr., out of the city of Chicago. Let's kind of get right into it right now, folks. NFL Week 1 is about to be wrapped up with the Chain Gang, Niner Gang on deck tonight. But let's talk about, obviously Week 1 action heading up into today. Cortez, obviously, Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick for your Chicago Bears. Didn't really impress too much, but he was able to come out with the win over, I forgot who they played. I apologize. But anyways, tell me, what were your impressions or your standouts from Week 1 and kind of what was your kind of takeaways for the Bears as well as kind of all teams?
I'm going to, you know what, you had to go there. Look. I think that Caleb Williams is going to be just fine in the Chicago Bear uniform.
All right.
That I'm not saying that he's going to have I'm not going to say that he's going to have Patrick Mahomes' level of success immediately. I'm not saying that at all, especially knowing that his compatriot Rome Odunze may be out for a little while.
Yeah.
We don't know because they have Hallis Hall is pretty quiet on injuries. Like we didn't know about Justin Fields' injury for like 4 days. Back when he got injured. We all knew that something was wrong, but we didn't know about the injury.
Right.
I will say that I think that number one, he's going to be good. I don't know how good he's going to be, but he's got to do a couple of things differently than his predecessors. And he's got to do. He's got to learn how to handle that pressure because that was the Titans. We haven't seen Pittsburgh. We haven't seen San Francisco. We haven't seen Baltimore. We haven't even seen New England. We haven't seen Tampa. We haven't seen Detroit. We haven't seen Green Bay. We haven't seen Minnesota. We haven't seen New Orleans or Atlanta. And I'm not discounting all the other teams in the league at all. All I'm saying is the Titans wouldn't be my top 5 defense.
Right.
I think they have a good defense, but I wouldn't say that they had the top 5 defense. No, I wouldn't say that. Considering the weapons that Caleb Williams has on his team, I would have thought that he would have thrown for more than 96, 98 yards.
Right.
I would have thought that he would have I would have pegged him at pause. I would have put him at like 256, 250. I would have put him at least 250, okay? So that's where I want to say that at. But you asked me an honest opinion, and I'm not a homer at the moment. I said I want him to do great and I want him to succeed in his career. And so I conceded all of that. Everybody knows that I'd love to be some Justin Fields. Also pause. But congrats on the win yesterday, Justin. Even though you didn't score a single touchdown, but he protected the football.
He showed poise. Made some nice throws.
The football, and there was a couple of throws. There was a couple of throws that he made that were great that got taken back because of penalties. I want to say I saw at least 4 that were deep and down the field where he was very poised, very good in the pocket. And he made those throws, and they caught the ball. We were talking about, in some cases, 55, 60 yards of downfield. We're looking at like Ohio State, Justin, what I'm saying? Or like preseason Justin Fields last year. But let's face the facts. Caleb was trash yesterday. Like I'm not even, what do you 20 for 48 or something like that? Like something ridiculous, some ungodly number of throws that he got. Your running backs, like I'm surprised your running backs didn't punch you in the face. You know what I'm saying? Because like that would have been the first thing I would have think. I'm gonna hit this dude in the face, bro. I got no carries, and these dudes over here throwing goose eggs. Like this dude was throwing that ball 6-7 yards in front of everybody. You ain't gonna throw no interceptions like that for sure. You ain't gonna get no completions either.
Yep.
So that's just me giving my honest opinion. I do think Caleb is good. We saw some very good signs of professionalism and progress. He made some very difficult throws during the game. He also took care of the ball very well. No interceptions is good. No fumbles is good. Throwing the ball away, sliding when you're supposed to slide. Getting the ball to the backs, getting the ball to the check down guy. Taking the shot downfield is not anything that I'm ever going to be upset about. Just if you're replacing a guy that people said had accuracy issues, you're going to need to get a little bit more accurate.
100%.
Especially because Caleb Williams don't have Justin Fields' body.
Right. He doesn't have the athleticism. Right. Go ahead.
So it's, that's one thing that Justin Fields can rely on at the end of the day is, hey, as long as the line can hold you for a second, I can find a hole and get through. I might
Yeah.
not be able to throw it sometimes, but I can get through. We can rely on that with Justin. He's going to do it with his legs, if he needs to. And I hate the narrative that Justin's not a passer because he throws the football.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but he picks good spots sometimes. Sometimes he doesn't. But once again, we've seen one game out of Justin in Chicago, in Pittsburgh. He's 1-0 as a Pittsburgh starter. I don't know what Pittsburgh does with that. I think we can segue.
Yeah, no, we can absolutely. Because you were actually on record this offseason saying that the Bears would regret the day that they traded Justin Fields. And now, obviously, you saw the difference in the performance of what you just highlighted between Caleb Williams and Justin. Obviously, you're not throwing the book at Caleb and closing, obviously, writing him off. But I mean, I do kind of sense from what you just assessed that you think
I think I
Justin
understand it. So that was what 6 months ago.
6 months ago, correct?
So I said that 6 months ago. So for everyone watching, you might have watched the previous video, and I might have said that. And so this might seem like I said it next week. We haven't done this in 6 months, people. We took a break. We both had our reasons. They were not about each other. That's my dog. That's my dog. They were not about each other. They had nothing to do with each other. There was just a whole bunch of world stuff going on, and like we try to keep the world stuff out of the show. So we have world obligations. We don't want to bring it on here.
100%.
And I did say that about Caleb, and while I have not changed my mind on the Bears regretting it, and I think I outlined those reasons very well. At the very least, Justin would have been a good backup in Chicago in case Caleb would go down. Would Justin accept that? Justin accepted a backup spot to Russell Wilson. I'm pretty sure he would accept it to Caleb Williams, especially if Justin said, I'm going to earn my spot. Now, I don't think the Bears gave him that option, and I think that he was okay with taking that option because he knew he could go somewhere else and start.
Right.
I think that he knew after they got Russell, or after he got picked up after Russell, I think he knew what he has work cut out for him. But I also think he's thinking the same thing that the rest of us are. Justin Fields is not going to lose to Russell Wilson in the quarterback competition, not permanently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he knew that too. And that's not taking nothing. I think all the shows that everybody watches and everybody puts on, I think that that people like to nitpick at the us talking heads about our opinions. You guys got to understand something. Number one, most of you are fans. That's great. We're fans too. Former players, as well as we research what we're going to talk about. We're talking about actual numbers here, actual research, actual numbers, and we watch so much film on what's going on with these teams and what are the reasons behind this. This isn't just two guys that sit on the couch and drink beer and watch football on Sunday. No, it's not that at all. The numbers would tell you that picking Caleb was the right move. The media circus behind it would tell you that picking Caleb was the right move. But the heart of a ball player tells you stick with your guy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's what that's about. The heart of a ball player says stick with your guy. He deserves a chance to lead us. But the media, the money, the billion-dollar industry that is the circus of the NFL is not anything without its storylines. And an excellent storyline is the number one draft pick being great in Chicago.
And a black quarterback. Don't forget. Obviously,
and a black quarterback, especially because Chicago doesn't typically draft black quarterbacks. We got the first black quarterback drafted was Justin Fields. The second black quarterback drafted is Caleb Williams.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter what percentage is. We're not going to do that crazy crap right on this show. What we're going to say is what the media says. The first black quarterback and the second black quarterback back to back. You got a black GM. It's the Bears organization. This is not CRT or any of that crap. The Bears organization is trying to right a wrong. And they're and let's face the facts. If the Bears didn't get Caleb Williams, they would have got somebody else. And somebody else would have got him first. And I'm going to tell you this too. I'll give you some prime examples because this being not that number podcast, this being Digitally Dreaming Off the Gridiron podcast, you can see we've been doing this for a long time. I can't legally say that on this show. I don't believe, right? Yeah. But this being DDOG,
Yes, sir.
this we like to keep the numbers accurate. If I'm wrong, he will fact check me and we'll talk about it, and we'll divvy it up in the next show.
That's what we
And
do.
so
That's what we do.
and so the numbers aren't wrong here. The Bears missed out on Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, and Kyler Murray.
Yes, they did. And the Niners did too. Let's not get
The
twisted.
Niners did too.
The
Right. But the
49ers,
Niners also drafted Colin Kaepernick and Trey Lance.
100% they did. Yes, they did.
So they thought they were going to have a franchise quarterback.
And they did. They did for a
15
little
years,
bit.
15 years, they've had franchise quarterbacks in a row. 15 years in a row. They only went through, was a 3-year rough season, like after Young. 3 or 4
Yeah.
years after Young, they had a problem.
Because Young to Garcia, but then after Garcia, it was kind of like Smith, and then like him, like switching OC, switching head coaches, and then obviously Smith.
I still think Alex Smith was a successful quarterback, in my opinion.
He was successful, and then then Colin basically took the reins after Alex got injured, and then Colin had his run, and then it was kind of a little bit rebuild, and then Kyle came in, and Kyle did
Trey
it with
got
Jimmy.
that half a season, right?
Yeah, half a season, and then basically then Colin took them to the Super Bowl in his first season as a starter. The year after he got drafted. And then basically from there, he was a franchise quarterback for, I want to say he was there for almost 5 years, solid. And then
he got into it with the organization.
He did. Well, obviously because he didn't. It wasn't it was everybody, right? Colin was basically making a stance for everybody to know, motherfuckers, I'm here. So
yeah. So, and you know what? I think I did tell you this years ago.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say it again for everybody that's not paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Colin won. And I know it doesn't look like it.
Mm-hmm.
I know it doesn't look like it, but Colin won.
Mm-hmm.
Colin got 8 times. No. Colin got 90 times his rookie contract.
Yep, whatever it was.
It was under $1 million. Colin got 90 times his rookie contract without ever taking a single hit. The only hit that he took was a non-physical hit, and that's not being in the NFL anymore. But every year, a quarterback goes down, and what does everybody say? I don't know why they don't just get Kaepernick. We need somebody. The Jets need to call Kaepernick.
Right.
They're not calling Kaepernick.
They're not calling Kaepernick.
Kaepernick got his money. Kaepernick would play in the NFL. He 100% would play. But Colin Kaepernick is only going to play with the way that Colin Kaepernick wants to play, because Colin Kaepernick no longer needs your money. Everybody else, trust me, they need your money. They do this stuff so they can stay on television. They need your money. They need your money.
100%. So yeah, pretty much back to kind of, let me just bring this home because of what you were just saying. I think I know the point you're trying to make. Basically, Justin Fields in Pittsburgh, if Justin Fields is relegated to being a backup, I think the issue though, which I saw on our podcast, was that, I think the issue with the Bears management, I think Ryan Poles and, obviously, Eberflus, the issue was they look at the cost financials, because basically Justin's in his last year of his rookie deal, right? He's in the last year of his rookie deal. So after this year, they have to pay him. That's how it goes, right? Either you pay him or you cut him and trade him. That's why they decided to go the latter. They traded him because they didn't want to pay him franchise money. And that's what I think really drove it. It wasn't about talent. I just think it was, they're looking at two things, right? Obviously, they can get the first overall pick and obviously pay him rookie salary, right? Pennies on the dollar for what they'd have to pay Justin. And then basically, secondly, I think, the time, it basically ran its course.
Yeah.
I think Justin felt disrespected by management. And, he definitely wanted an opportunity to show himself, at our organization. And so far, week one, he actually looked pretty good. So, let's see, if he can continue this momentum. But to your other point, I think Justin wanted to go to Pittsburgh because of the fact that he wanted to be behind an established starter, a proven veteran quarterback like Russell Wilson, Super Bowl champion caliber quarterback. So that way he can, show everyone, he can learn from the best, and he can also show everyone, that, he's not just this draft bust. He is a solid, bona fide, NFL starting quarterback for some franchise, and maybe it's Pittsburgh. So we'll see.
I think that Justin deserves a franchise that was happy to receive him. And I think he got that in Pittsburgh. And I think that he got a head coach that understands what his
skill set
abilities are, considering that he made Cordell Stewart a legend.
Absolutely, yeah.
Big Ben was not like Cordell Stewart, but Tomlin is a good coach.
A great coach, phenomenal coach.
and he's never had a losing season in the NFL. And
Nope.
if the Steelers part ways with him, I think it'll be worse than when the Patriots parted with Bill Belichick.
Yeah. Well, Patriots parting ways with Bill Belichick. I mean, I think they won. Did they win yesterday against Cincinnati?
They
They
actually
did.
did.
Yeah. So Gerard Mayo actually might be in a good tenure, but I mean, obviously now losing
They got a
percent. I
good
mean,
replacement. They got a good
yeah,
replacement because he's instantly recognizable with the fans and media,
yeah,
and
being a player.
he's instantly someone that you can look at as a leader and say, well, not only is this guy a winner, but he's won the Super Bowl as a player.
Absolutely. Yeah. Exactly.
He's
And
been down in the trenches with me, and those are the type of coaches that like players love to rally behind without too much. He ain't got to do as much to motivate them or rally them. He doesn't have to do as much. And I think that being a coach myself and having coached players, I think that having that ability for them to see your accomplishments and they watched you growing up, you know, they remember what you're capable of. They remember what you did and how you got there. So they know you have the right mentality to get them to where they need to go. They believe in
yeah,
you.
100%. And I think kind of to that point, obviously having a proven veteran like Gerard Mayo, obviously vitalizes that locker room of young, now basically a very young team in New England, right? And I think as good as Bill Belichick was, as a coach, his legacy of being the greatest of all time, which is pretty much going to go untouched. Granted, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes have something to say about that. Bill Belichick, was kind of lost touch, I want to say, with this modern day NFL. Kind of the Patriot way, taking pay cuts, doing whatever it does for the team.
Yeah,
Obviously
yeah,
he absolutely benefited from Tom Brady, number one, the greatest of all time. Number two, obviously, the Patriots, now, obviously switching over, to Jerome Mayo, it shows you kind of, a change in the trend. And obviously, but, Jerome Mayo is still retaining some of that tradition by keeping on a Jacoby Brissett, who was part of that 20-year dynasty run with Bill, right, as a backup to Tom Brady. So, I mean, it's interesting to kind of like look at it and like look at it from all perspectives. I mean, obviously the jury's still out. Jerome Mayo just won this first game he ever coached, in his life in the NFL. So we'll see how it goes, right, with the season. But I
I
think
mean,
kind of
I do have some fandom left for the
yeah,
Patriots, even though the Brady man is gone.
yeah,
But I
the
like the
goat,
Patriots. I liked them before they had Tom Brady. I liked them when they had Drew Bledsoe.
yeah,
I'm not going to be like the Patriots are my favorite team. They're not. But the collection of teams that I do like, they're in that group.
mm-hmm.
Am I going to pick them over? Am I going to pick them over Tampa or the Bears? Probably not.
Yeah,
Am I gonna pick them now? Now let me adjust what I'm saying here. If a player that I particularly enjoy watching play football, as much as I enjoyed watching Tom Brady play football, steps onto the field, then I will be a fan of theirs. Justin Fields captivated me with his play, even when it was bad. You just knew that he was capable of doing something to make you smile. I do think that Caleb, Drake, and even some of the other guys that are in New England. I'm not discounting Jacoby Brissett. I'm just saying that he's a veteran in the league. He's been on 8 different teams, I want to say.
yeah,
He's been on like 8 different teams. He's a veteran in the league. They drafted a number one quarterback. No offense to Jacoby Brissett, the same way that I wouldn't, have any offense to the guy we're going to talk about later on in Seattle. You know, um, I just believe that if you draft a guy number one and you spend all your resources on this guy, he needs a chance.
right. Mm-hmm.
So that brings us to number one draft picks who
Yes.
got a chance and they are no longer going to be playing this season. So since you guys have seen us, we've lost JJ McCarthy, who was a very high draft pick in the first round. He was a quarterback chosen. Everybody knows that when a quarterback is chosen, it usually means they're next in line.
Right.
And whether they're the day one starter or not, everybody knows that's the guy we need to be watching for. And Green Bay lost Jordan Love with 4 seconds left on the clock.
insane. I mean, I don't understand why they kept him in the. Well, I do understand because obviously it's a very close game. They're trying to get the win, and
They
it
were
gets
trying to
Philadelphia.
win. It was a
Yeah,
legitimate reason to keep him out there. I just think
right.
that it was unrealistic. He's not Aaron Rodgers, not yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think with
And
all the
and
with all the
look, and look, Aaron Rodgers,
we're gonna
you
get
know I don't
there.
like you. You know I don't like you.
We're about to get there, but we're about to get there.
Okay.
Don't worry, we're about to get there, baby. We're almost there. But let's kind of hone in on what you just brought up. That's a very interesting point because obviously you see JJ McCarthy go down, right? Obviously, very hyperactive. You see, obviously, like to your point, Jordan Love good. I mean, we'll see what the extent of the injury is. I'm not sure if they announced everything. I haven't read anything recently, so maybe they're announcing. I'm not sure how many.
They fear it's a MCL tear.
Okay, if it's MCL tear, then yeah, he's going to be missing a lot of time. And this pretty much is going to be a wrap.
6 to 8 weeks, right?
Yeah, I think 6 to 8 weeks. Peter Schrager had the Packers as his Super Bowl pick out of the NFC, losing to the Chiefs, and so much for that. If that's the case, Peter Schrager might be 5-5 for the last 5 years, but I mean, he's 5-5 for the winners, but he's not 5 or
Do
5
they
for
have a
the.
backup? I don't even know if they have a good backup because we didn't see him.
I don't know honestly. I'm not sure who the backup is. Yeah, I mean, I think it was Malik Willis. Is that right? No, Malik Willis is not different. I don't know. Anyways, I forget. So I mean,
No,
Jordan Love.
he's a Brown, isn't he?
Maybe I don't. I think it was maybe Malik or some. I forgot who the quarterback was. I mean, he was out there for a few seconds and then a few drives, and then obviously the Eagles end up winning.
Yeah,
But
because we didn't.
I
And then most of the guys that we saw in preseason got cut, so they don't count.
correct. And so basically, with that said, right? I mean, I think the Packers, obviously, to your point, right? 6 to 8 weeks, and now we're going to talk about. Let's talk about the Sunday night match we saw yesterday. The overtime Detroit Lions win over the Rams. Obviously, you don't like the Lions. I don't like the Rams. So, we're basically, I mean, our divisional opponents, right? I mean, it's tough because obviously, I mean, the Rams and the Lions have put on barn burners dating back to last playoffs, but obviously
And
the
that's the
Lions.
thing. I you don't like the Chargers. I mean, you don't like the Chargers or the Rams.
I actually
I
don't
don't
mind
like.
the Chargers. I actually don't mind the Chargers because now they got Hardball. So I mean, I kind of like to see how
Okay, yeah. So
how. Yeah,
you want to see what I want to see what Harbaugh does.
yeah, me
The
too.
Rams,
Yeah,
on the other hand, I like. I was a partial Rams fan. Having family members from St. Louis, and you know exactly which family members. I don't have to be specific on a
right.
YouTube channel. So
Yes,
for
sir.
people are going to call me out for it, it's somebody very close and near and dear to my heart. Okay,
Yeah.
and if we ever get to that point, we get to that point. But moving forward, I had some affinity for the Rams. They moved to LA. That affinity was all gone at that point.
Yeah.
They're no longer just like the Cardinals. I'm not an Arizona Cardinals fan, even though they were in St. Louis. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm not a Rams fan anymore. They're not in St. Louis. The Edward Jones Dome is the home of the XFL, UFL now, Battlehawks. Let's give them a call because they're awesome. Hopefully they win next year.
Yeah.
But moving forward with that, like, yeah, Detroit, dude, Detroit and Los Angeles put on a show every time they play each other. And
Yeah.
I think it's because of the swapping of the quarterbacks. I have never
Yeah.
seen a quarterback swap go this way, where these two teams just continually beat on each other until for our entertainment.
Yep.
We are entertained by them beating each other's ass.
100% we are, man. It's and to your point, I think one of the things, like you said, the quarterback swap. Sometimes kind of back to the whole Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, dynamic, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
sometimes when something's run its course. Obviously Jared Goff in LA, Sean McVay saying I need to have a change at QB, and that ended up being the difference maker for them, resulting in a Super Bowl win. I mean, it's kind of interesting because you look at other teams who try to adopt that same model. It doesn't always work, right? You see Kirk Cousins in Atlanta; he looked terrible against the Steelers. You see, basically, I mean, we can just go down the list. I mean, obviously, I mean, actually, I can't remember who else really switched this offseason, but I was gonna say, I mean, obviously, I watched. Well, I mean that's unrelated, but yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. I remember Nick Wright was saying during the offseason the Niners should go get him because he's a game changer. He can do all worldly types of
Yeah.
stuff. But I mean, you see him in Atlanta, he looks basically washed. I mean, yeah, he had a few nice throws here and there, but I mean, he didn't really command the offense. And when you have John Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts, I would expect you as a veteran quarterback being in this league for 12 years? Like, you should definitely be able to string,
12 years.
Yeah, I mean, I get the Steelers are a great defense. TJ Watt, 8, obviously I'm not sure how good the Atlanta Falcons line is, but I mean, it's interesting because now we're gonna get into the to your man who you hate, that bad man A-Rod. We're talking about my Niners, but the Monday night matchup coming up in about an hour and a half. But back to the point, right? I think dear Jared Goff, Matt Stafford, the switch was good for both of them. I went to the
They
NFC
both
Championship game.
played better
Right.
Matthew
And I would
Stafford
say,
he might be having a tough time over the last 2 seasons, but that's
mhm.
because his team retired. They won a Super Bowl and they retired. That's what happens when you win a Super Bowl. Players retire, guys.
Yeah, players leave, they get signed in free agency, they
They make
retire,
more
you know.
money. Like what you
Yeah,
guys don't know is half the guys on the team don't make anything. Most of you guys watching TV make more than some of those guys.
believe it or not, you know. I mean, well, yeah, I mean, some of the free, well, it depends on what their role is, but I think most NFL players on average make more. But I was just going to say, without Aaron Donald, the difference maker for that Rams a defense, that heart and soul of that team, when he left, it was basically curtains, you know. I mean, it was curtains for the Rams. So ultimately now, I mean, that was last year was this last season was Aaron Donald's last year, and obviously, like, you know, the Rams haven't really addressed their pass rush, they haven't addressed that interior, you know, defensive line. So I mean, with that said, you know, I think to your point, right? Matt Stafford won them the Super Bowl. That team is, you know, kind of still it's semi rebuilding because they're still a playoff team. I'm not really impressed by them. I am impressed by Detroit. I'm very impressed by Detroit because I like
Yeah,
the
I wasn't
yeah
impressed by LA. I was impressed by Detroit last year. I was impressed by Detroit the year before that, and
yep
I think I'm gonna be impressed with them this year. The only
yeah
way that with what's going on with the rest of our division in the North Division in the
mm-hmm.
NFC, I don't think there's anything that we're gonna see other than a matchup that's gonna determine between Chicago and Detroit. And if Chicago
yeah
doesn't get their quarterback play down the way it's supposed to go, then it's gonna be all Detroit.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that Detroit really did the offseason, like we saw yesterday, was they addressed their secondary needs. I mean, that secondary looks so much more improved. And you know, I mean, CJ Gardner Johnson was a great asset when they came on last year, but then when they let him go, I mean, I'm not sure who they have. I'm not sure their names, but I mean, that secondary played really well. And Jared Goff didn't look that good down the stretch, but I mean, they were able to compensate for the run for that lack of, you know, I mean, I guess clutch gene rather than you know, with obviously, and he almost turned it
He
over,
had
by the
ice
way.
in his veins, bro. Ice in his
I was in his
veins.
veins, yeah. Yeah, and I'm sorry, Matt Stafford almost turned it over. He almost sealed the game for the Lions before regulation ended. But I really liked, you know, Detroit secondary how they attacked the ball. They're flying around, and obviously, you know, Jameson Williams in that run game. I'm sure you can appreciate that. You know, you have playing the position. You know, you love seeing those running backs. You know, kind of just ball and you know play that old school '90 Barry Sanders type M Smith. You know, bruiser ball. You know, so I really like that. That's a recipe for success, and Detroit definitely has. They're
What
clicking,
do I
man. They're
always
clicking.
say? I always say the same thing. You need physicality in the sport of football if you want to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
And it's not about safety, because safety is you can be extremely safe but extremely physical. You can do that. You can do that. There are plenty of players who are extremely safe but also extremely physical. Look at half the running backs in the league. Do you think that they're trying to get injured? They usually get injured on something weird too. Never usually like giving hits or stuff like that. No. Same thing with everybody else. Most people get injured on freak accidents and not people not being safe.
Greg
You
Greenlaw,
know,
Super Bowl. Fuck. Sorry, go ahead. I
exactly.
still have that.
Routine plays. Aaron Rodgers, routine play. Justin Fields injury last year, routine play. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it's just how it goes, man. But you need to have the physicality. You need to be durable. You
All
know,
right, one
when
more.
Christian
Yeah, but
McCaffrey got hurt and when Brock Purdy got hurt, it hurt the 49ers
hundred
because both
percent,
of them, whether anybody wants to believe it or not, Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy are two extremely physical football players.
100%, hundred
They they
percent.
they wouldn't be good without it.
Nope, nope. They need it, and Christian McCaffrey especially number 2, 3. Oh my God, that boy is a monster. I mean, he is. He does it all, right? And I think Kyle basically has to limit his touches. I mean, I think it's questionable for tonight. And now we're going to get into tonight's matchup, the marquee segment of this
Yeah,
episode. But
he's gonna be questionable tonight.
I just want to close out this week one recap with just saying this. Obviously, we talk about physicality. Saquon Barkley, 3 touchdowns in his debut with Philly. He helped
Monster.
monster, right? I mean, Saquon looking great in that green uniform, and I really think that you know Saquon. I mean, the Eagles still haven't. I mean, their defense is very very suspect, in my opinion. I mean, I think the Green Bay should have won that game. It was a really ugly type of slugfest. So I still think Dallas is going to win that division based on what I saw in week
Yeah.
one so far. A lot of season left, right? We're just starting off. It's week one. It's overreaction Monday, but basically that's what I'm seeing. And yeah, pretty much now we can just get into the main event tonight, Monday night football. The San Francisco 49ers take on the New
Not
York.
Atlanta.
Yeah, man, Atlanta, Kyle Shanahan. Anyways, the San Francisco 49ers take on the New York Jets. in Levi Stadium. Game at 5:30, obviously questionable. Like I said, Christian McCaffrey, Colin Hufunka's obviously out. Jake Brown's obviously out. Itur Gross Matos, our stalwart athletic acquisition in the offseason at defensive end, is also out. Aaron Banks on the right guard is questionable. So a lot of banged up injuries. Obviously, the Jets are also, they have some injuries here and there. But obviously, kind of what you mentioned about freak injuries. Leonard Floyd, the man who actually put Aaron Rodgers on the shelf last season, is on the San Francisco 49ers, former Chicago Bear, who I had the pleasure of watching back in 2018 when they made the playoffs. Yes, he is. And yeah, man, I mean, I'm hyped for that matchup. What are you looking for this matchup, and which side of the ball really has to perform?
I want to see how much mobility Aaron Rodgers has left. I don't doubt his arm at all because he never stopped throwing.
Right.
I'm looking to see if San Francisco still has a punch.
Yeah.
I know that losing a game can completely alter your mindset as an athlete. And especially
losing the Super Bowl can absolutely alter your mindset. Yes.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Losing the Super Bowl will change you. And even when it comes to a big playoff game, like Jameis Winston has never been the same.
Right.
And I'm not saying that anything is wrong with Jameis, y'all. We love Jameis around here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, we love Jameis around here. I can't make the W with my fingers right now for other reasons, but you know, we love Jameis around here. And but I want to see if Aaron Rodgers is still mobile, and I want to see if San Francisco still have that dog in them. I want to see if the players hold any resentment towards Ayuk because he basically missed training camp and held out. I want to see if Brock is stone cold, not Steve Austin, but stone cold nonetheless.
Oh, hell yeah.
I want to see if I want to see if I just want to see what the dynamic of how this works out this season. So I think San Francisco it's really tough to lose a few Super Bowls in a row.
Yep.
It's really tough to lose the NFC Championship a few times in a row. Yep. We're talking about they've been consistent continuers for the last 15 years.
Correct.
And it's really hard to lose and lose and lose and lose. And then you have the shadow of, Aikman and Montana always hanging over you. They're not even at Candlestick Park anymore. And it's still the wax is dripping on them. And I just want to see where they take it. I want to see if they change it up at all. I want to see if Brock has developed a little bit more, if he's a little bit stronger. I want to see this. This is why I watch football. I want to see if Debo is going to return to making his plays the way that he did 2 seasons ago. But I think that the part that everybody's overlooking is I want to see if George Kittle still has it. Is he George Kittle? Is he George Kittle or is he Zach Ertz?
Oh, okay. Yes, sir.
And one disclaimer. I'm talking about the athlete, guys. I am not talking about the man. So I separate the two. I'm talking about the athlete. That's why I can get behind Caleb Williams, because I don't care about his personality. I hope he's a good football player. I don't care about any football player's personality. I really just care if they're good football players. Unless they're doing heinous crimes, then I don't care about their personality. But if they're doing heinous crimes, okay, yeah, get them off the field because they're dangerous and they might shoot someone in the locker room.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We've had that here in Chicago. Well, let's clear that up. He didn't shoot somebody in the locker room. He robbed a bank and shot an officer at the bank. Okay, not saying that's any better. I'm just saying that he didn't shoot anyone in the locker room. He wasn't in the locker room. Chicago football is technically safe. You don't really have incidents like that. That happens more in the South.
Yeah, but actually, let me you made some massive points. And I just wanted to kind of touch upon every single one of those. First and foremost, I'm looking for Brock Purdy's development too, as well. I'm looking forward to seeing how much his arm strength has improved, and because they've said he put what 30 pounds of muscle this offseason, 20 pounds, whatever it was. I want to see how well he can throw that ball, how well he can sling it. He mentioned he wants to be dominant. Brock, it's your time, baby. Let's see you be dominant. All right. Secondly, to your other point, I want to see George Kittle. I want to see this was an All-Pro Pro Bowler last season. In the Super Bowl, he only had 2 catches for 4 yards. Okay. I had a front row seat to that, right? I'm looking forward to seeing how well you can bounce back. Thirdly, to your other point, Debo. I'm looking forward. I need Debo. He was also injured in the Super Bowl, so I'm gonna give him some grace. But I need to see Debo come out and beat Debo motherfucking Sam. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
I rocked number 19 on the Super Bowl in Vegas. There's a reason for that. I need to see Debo come out there and be physical on both sides of the ball. Not both sides, obviously, defense off, but both sides being if he's a wide back and he's running it, or if the pitch screen or play action right, I want to see him be that guy and dominate. Now, obviously, number 4, Brandon Ayuk, right? I want to see Ayuk become that dude. Ayuk is on fire. That's the kind of staying here in the California area on KBR 680, right? We need to see you blow that roof on fire, motherfucker. Come on now, man. You only have one week. Yeah, we got to see that.
Yeah.
You got paid. You got paid, right? You got paid $120 for 4 years. We need to see that, right?
Yeah. I said that about Jalen Johnson earlier because if you remember last year, I called him out for standing around on plays.
Yep.
Now, we don't do replays on this show. I don't think either one of us feels like editing them or getting licensing. Neither one of us want to do that. And I'm sorry if that's what you're looking for. Maybe if you guys donated more money to us than we would. But guess what? You don't. You don't. You guys don't donate money to us.
We're good. We're self-funded, baby. We good over here.
Yeah, we have fun with y'all, but y'all do not. Y'all don't buy us drinks.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can't do the replay analysis of what you would see on ESPN. But what we can do is we can walk you through this. And I'm down. I said Jalen Johnson last year wasn't deserving of wanting a new contract because he played like crap for most of the season. Did I know all of the internal things that were going on with the Chicago Bears? I was not privileged to that information. No one was. In fact, we didn't find out until the night of draft night. And after the draft, 15 minutes when the Bears released the first teaser episode of Hard Knocks on YouTube.
Right.
We got a whole 20 minutes of the first episode on YouTube right after Caleb Williams got drafted. They didn't even wait for anybody else to get drafted. They just drafted Caleb Williams, announced it, and then dropped the YouTube teaser. Caleb Williams has been in Hallis Hall for 5 months.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody knew he was getting him. The whole league knew Caleb Williams was going to the Chicago Bears.
Yes, sir.
He probably came to Chicago the day after the Panthers lost. And seeded them the number 1 seed.
Yes, sir.
If not before that. But I say that all to say Jalen Johnson stepped up his game, and Jalen Johnson didn't even allow 2% of passes to be caught in his direction, not even 2%. So we're going to go there. We're going to say that we're looking for the same production on the offensive side from Ayuk in San Francisco. And I don't think that that's a problem. If you want the money that you deserve, then you play for it. You show the reason why you deserve the money. You get the money, you show up, and you put up the numbers. Now, Jalen Johnson's numbers are dependent upon the ball being thrown his direction or not thrown in his direction. As a cornerback or a secondary, you can get away with not having the ball thrown in your direction because that means you're too good for the ball to get thrown in your direction. They're not even going to challenge you. As a receiver, if you don't get the ball and you don't have the numbers, then it doesn't justify your contract, and it makes you very good trade bait.
100%.
And it doesn't mean that you're a bad player because you didn't get the numbers. What it is not only can we trade you in part of your salary, but we're going to either make them pick it up and you're going to make you restructure your deal and sign a new one. And you might not get that same money because you don't have the numbers. I can sell you with the draft pick in your contract because guess what? That team over there has got, $2 billion more than we do, and they can pay you and we can't.
That's how it is. Ultimately, some teams make the cap space, but now it's made it work. And actually, Trent Williams actually in the offensive line is not my number 5, but my number 5 is sealed off. Who am I looking forward to perform the most? The defense. Number 54, Fred Warner. Y'all basically fired Steve Wilkes. You said the whole issue with why we lost Super Bowl was because of our defensive scheme, him not being a good fit, him focusing too much on secondary, our pass rush taking a step back, our linebacking core taking a step back. Obviously, under D'Amico Ryans 2 seasons ago, this was a top 5 defense in all categories, and they basically regressed down to top 15, top 25, whatever, under Wilkes.
Right.
Obviously, Mooney Ward became a Pro Bowl corner at his position, is ranked number top 3 at the cornerback position heading into the season. So I need to see something from the defense, right? You got Leonard Floyd. You got
can we say it? Do you think, I'm not trying to make a bold prediction, but do you think that the NFL script is setting up a defensive season? Because about every game we watched, except for Tampa, which we didn't cover that game right now because that was a beatdown.
No, the
We
nice
didn't cover
beatdowns.
Tampa or New Orleans because they were both beatdowns. And I know y'all
Yeah,
probably mad that we didn't
South, y'all
cover them. But if you notice, we don't really cover beatdowns on this show unless it happened on Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football. The rest of the
Yeah.
beatdowns we don't talk about.
Yep.
And we haven't made it to the playoffs yet. So, we're not going to talk about every single one of them because we haven't made it to the playoffs. If you watched the game, you saw New Orleans, Derek Carr, he did a whole lot of nasty things to that team on the other side. And if you watch Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield did whatever he wanted.
Yep.
He did whatever he wanted. Baker Mayfield looks like Tom Brady right now.
That's how it is, man.
And Derek Carr looking like somebody else. Derek Carr is looking like another Carr that we remember.
Shout out my boy George. George, you were at that game rooting on your Commanders. My bad, my brother. All the best power to you, baby. I hope that you heal up.
Are the Commanders even a real football team at this point?
I mean, bro, I don't even know, man. I mean, they basically took Adam Peters from the Niners, and he actually made some really solid acquisitions this offseason. But, I mean, with a rookie quarterback and obviously, this first time this team is set to just step on the field, it's going to take some time for all the pieces to gel. Some teams just get it, some teams don't. And yeah, man. No, I mean, at this point, year to year, obviously Baker Mayfield, they pay him $100 million for 3 years, and it looks like right now he's earned that money. Obviously Dak Prescott.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
In a contract season,
you
have two players that you need, and this is a close to home question. You have two players that you need to make sure you sign. But if you can only sign one, because you're going to re-sign Christian McCaffrey, you're going to re-sign Deebo Samuel, you're going to re-sign the entire defense. If you had to make cap space with an offensive player, and your only two choices were to dump Brandon Ayuk or let Brock Purdy walk in the open free agency, which one are you going to choose?
Well, it looks like actually I'm gonna challenge that. I think actually one of those players who said is safe is actually not. I think what's gonna happen is number 19, the man whose jersey I wore at the Super Bowl,
He's
Deebo
not 19
Samuel.
anymore. He doesn't wear that
number
anymore.
one, right? Number one. I mean, I keep seeing. I'm associating with 19 because I've seen him that jersey for so long since he got drafted 5 years ago. I mean, I honestly think at this point, really the organization signing Ayuk basically sent a message to number one that your time here is basically limited. I think Brock Purdy's gonna get.
If Deebo turns back into the Deebo we know and love,
if
Deebo produces the way that Deebo was producing, then what do you do?
Then yeah, I mean, then it's a really tough dilemma because you have Deebo, you have Ayuk, right? You can't have two receivers making top receiver money. So one or the other. I mean, I honestly think that the organization is putting all their chips into the BA basket because they think BA with his chemistry of Brock last year, the NFC Championship performance, didn't get his targets in the Super Bowl. I think the ownership, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are going. Ownership, GM, head coach believe that Brandon Ayuk is more instrumental to Brock Purdy's development and his future career growth
than Deebo. Well, here's the reason why you don't need Deebo as much. You don't need Deebo as much because you got Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
And you notice Deebo's carries went down, Deebo's receptions went down, Deebo's targets went down. And that's fine because they're trying to play winning football. And it doesn't mean that Deebo was the problem. It just means that this is the way the offense works now.
And he was injured.
He got injured. Yeah, so that was on him too. He was injured for 5 weeks?
Yeah, 6 almost. It was a lot.
So is it time for predictions?
Yeah, it's time for predictions. Let's get into it. All right. Start off with you. Who you got winning tonight? And give me the final score.
I'm going to go 49ers 34-21.
Love it. 13 points. I'm actually going to keep it a little bit closer only because I don't know how the offensive line is going to look without Banks. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right. I'm going to go 49ers 23-21, maybe 24-21, winning by a field goal. And essentially, I'm just because only reason I'm saying that, actually, we're not going to close it out just yet because I want to talk to you about Hassan Reddick's contract situation with the Jets. He is not listed on, he is clear to play. He's medically cleared to play, but he is basically sitting out, missing game checks, missing game money because he wants to be traded. He has not gotten a long-term deal from the Jets. And one of the issues the Niners have outside of Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd is that they're very, very thin at that defensive end spot. in terms of, reserve depth. And one of the guys who would make an instant impact for the Niners and make us he'd be a game changer basically, would be Hassan Reddick. Where do you see Hassan Reddick going? What's your take on the whole Hassan Reddick drama, and what do you think it means for the Jets down the line?
I think he signs the contract in New York, and
Okay.
I think that Aaron Rodgers will probably go to bat for him because he's got a little bit of pull in the organization. Obviously, he didn't get replaced after going down in week 1. They just didn't even try to replace Aaron Rodgers.
Wow.
So that's letting you know that they believe in Aaron Rodgers because they didn't even try to replace him at all. And I think that if he likes the guy, which it seems like he does, then he's going to ask for him to stay. And I think that the Jets, being misers, even though they have the money because they share a stadium with somebody else, they have the money. You only pay half on a stadium that's publicly funded by the city of New York and Buffalo.
Yep.
Let's not forget that Buffalo pays for more than one stadium.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Ralph Wilson. Buffalo's basically owning. They're footing the bill for Ralph Wilson Memorial Stadium, but New York and New Jersey are basically sharing that bill.
It's New York City. You're getting tax dollars from New York City, the most populous place in America.
Yep.
A lot of tax dollars.
They
have the money to sign them to the contract. The thing is
Woody Johnson's a terrible owner. It's like going.
He's a terrible owner. Yeah, that's number one. He's a terrible owner. And 2, when you don't in this generation, you need numbers. And if you don't have numbers, intangibles are not going to buy you the contract you're looking for.
100%. No, I think another issue in this generation is that they're looking for defensive ends who are great, not just rushing the quarterback, but in run support. And Hassan Reddick basically was on record saying that, motherfuckers don't run to my side. How do you expect me to be a run stopper?
Yeah, that's my exact point that he's making. He doesn't have – they're not going to his side because they don't want to deal with him. But the thing is, being a deterrent only works sometimes.
Right.
You can be a guy that they don't want to see. But, for example, a lot of times when I play, I don't get the football as much.
Right.
Because they always think I'm getting the football. So if we could trick them and make them think that I'm getting the football, as a coach, it makes a lot of sense because we're going to get down there and I'm going to celebrate because, hey, it worked. But guess what? No one cares if I block. Players care. Quarterbacks care. The offensive line coach cares because he sees that we need it. And maybe the quarterback's coach cares, but fans don't care about that. That's why the running back position is dying. And if I don't have my touches, if I don't have my yards, if I don't have my scores, then I'm going to be looked at as less than what you're looking for. And just so being an active decoy all the time is not what players really want to do, even if it works for winning. I've been saying this for a while. A lot of sports is no longer about winning, guys, and I think y'all need to accept that too. A lot of sports is no longer about winning. There's no code. The blowout code no longer exists. We've seen more blowouts in sports over the last 5 years than we had in the last 4 decades. Combined. 4 decades combined, I've not seen as many blowouts as the last 5 years in sports around the country. All of them. Every time I turn the television on, some baseball team is winning 16-0. Every time I turn on a college game, some college team is destroying some FBS school 77-0. And we're not going to go into college right now because we don't have that much time, I'm sure. But I just want to let y'all know that sports is no longer about winning and losing. And I think that especially if you're a mid-level team, if you're a mid-level team like the Bears have been over the last decade, it's not about winning and losing. It's not. It's about doing it in style. And if they can do it in style, they will. Go look at the Chicago White Sox.
That's simple, and I think kind of to that point, a lot of the, because here's the thing. If the NFL season is a foregone conclusion, if everyone believes the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, then to your point, right, what excites the fans? What is the storyline and narrative that we can look out for, right? Sam Darnold in Minnesota, right? Obviously, starting for J.J. McCarthy, backup for us last year. Great player, came in when we needed him to, and obviously now he's playing really well. He won his first start. They dominated the Giants, and he looks like he's primed, to have a good season. Josh Dobbs, being the number QB, I guess QB3. I mean, I'm not sure if I want him like QB2. I mean, he's really athletic. He's more dynamic than Brandon Allen. I think Kyle just likes his guys. Like, I don't know why Nick Sakel is on the roster. He's probably the worst O lineman I've seen in my life. I think Kyle likes his guys. Sam McKivitz. I mean, we'll see, if he can redeem himself. Kyle likes his guys. I'm not going to get into it. Andrew Thomas, my Muslim brother, love you, but hey, bro, you got to go. So, I mean, anyways, I think, when you're not, if it's a foregone conclusion that one team is just head and shoulders better, and there's one player on the planet whose head and shoulders better than everyone else, that pretty much is it. That pretty much tells you kind of what, and so to your point, winning in style, winning in a way that you can really, latch onto is really what makes us fans excited. So I definitely agree with that point. So,
yeah. Like that's, and I'm not speaking down on the entire NFL. I'm just saying the NFL is a business, guys. Like, it ain't college. College is a business, but college is still about winning. The NFL is a business where it's not necessarily just about winning. And I think you can say that about a lot of franchises.
100%. And I think one more thing, is that when we talk about blowouts, the last team, the highest scoring Super Bowl to this day, we are now the 30th anniversary of the 1994 season, which is the last time 49ers won a Super Bowl. The highest scoring Super Bowl is still to this day, Super Bowl 29, 49ers over Chargers, 49-26. And Steve Young still holds the record for most touchdown passes in a Super Bowl with 6. So 75 combined points, still the Super Bowl record. The largest blowout Super Bowl is still Joe Montana and the 49ers over Denver Broncos, 55-10, 45 points. The legacy is there. So, but now the pressure's on because to your point about, who has to leave this offseason, because the 49ers have to pay Brock, they have to get it done this year. There's really no more excuses. There's really no other chance they have.
I mean, because what are you going to do? Are you going to move on from Brock Purdy if he doesn't win this year? Are you going to trade him somewhere? Are you going to – because let's face the facts here, people. Whether we like it or not, the way that business sees things is Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant.
That's how everyone sees it, not just businesses. Everyone from talking heads on media, they all criticize it because of his draft position. So
yeah, he's Mr. Irrelevant. And it's like every time he fucks up, it's going to come back.
Yep, under a microscope.
He doesn't have job security. He knows that. He knows he doesn't have job security. He knows that the coach likes him. He knows that a lot of the fans like him. But he also knows that I can be here today and gone tomorrow because it's San Francisco, and they don't hesitate to pull the trigger on quarterbacks.
100%.
They probably – I don't know if I can think of one team that's had better quarterbacks than San Francisco. Can you think of any team that has consistently had better quarterbacks that put their teams in positions to win? And don't you dare say Dallas.
Yeah, I'm not going to say Dallas. I mean, Dak got his bag. $60 million a year is a lot. I mean, he basically reset the QB
highest
market.
paid player ever.
Golly. And I mean, obviously Dak is, is a great regular season player. He's, postseason, he hasn't really performed. So Jerry Jones is still a firm believer in Dak. Obviously Trey Lance, the Niners blunder is there, backing him up over there in Dallas. So, I mean, Jerry Jones believes in Trey Lance as well. I think to your point, yes, I do think Niners have been consistently great in terms of restocking. I think obviously Green Bay, with Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and I guess now Jordan Love, they've been good. But they haven't been, I mean, they've lucked out, honestly. I mean, Bart Starr, and then obviously they had a significant lull period between Bart Starr and Brett Favre in the 80s and 70s. And then the 90s, Brett Favre came onto the scene as a backup from Atlanta, and he ended up, becoming who he was. And then basically
the Bears have never had the guy. The Bears have never had
the Bears, exactly, to your point, the Bears have never had anyone. If I'm not mistaken, I was thinking they never had anyone throw for I think I read they haven't had any quarterback throw for 40 touchdowns in a season. Yeah.
None throwing for 4,000 yards. None.
None.
4,000. Not even Jay Cutler. Not even Jay Cutler. Not even Jay Cutler.
Yeah, but you know what? That is on who was the coach at that time? The guy in the CFL, Mark Trestman. That was on Trestman for not.
Yeah, that was on Mark Trestman.
Yeah, for not letting Jay Cutler do what he could do. So I think that was kind of it. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Niners have been consistently great. Since the 80s and 90s, they've been elite in terms of not being able to win it, but they've been knock on the door.
I can't remember the 49ers ever having a bad starter. And I don't mean a backup that stepped in. I mean I don't think they've ever had a bad starter in my lifetime. I was born during the Joe Montana era.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I was born during the Joe Montana era. Joe Montana was still He was one of my favorite quarterbacks, if not my favorite quarterback. I think he was my favorite quarterback until Drew Brees.
Yeah, Joe Montana, he was actually traded when I was around 3 years old, and then basically Steve Young then took the fold. Steve Young was already actually in the driver's seat, but Joe Montana was traded that
Yeah,
offseason.
he was traded to Kansas City.
Yeah, and then obviously then Steve and Joe dueled that last season of Joe's in the NFL in 1994, and then
That was
Joe
nice,
actually
wasn't
came,
it?
it was very nice. 24-17. That was a great, kind of NFL throwback. I mean, and Steve obviously was able to go on and win the Super Bowl that year with a very stacked team with
I think
Deion
that was
Prime.
like the last great performance that Joe had. Hold on one
It was.
second, bro.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I got you. And I mean, kind of to that point, as 49ers fans and 49ers faithful, as we all like to talk about. I mean, I think kind of, with what we've seen from the legacy of the Niners up to this point, that's why, I'm sure other Niner faithful are curious to see how the offensive line looks tonight, how Nick Sorensen looks as our defensive coordinator, basically, scheming with our new, and hopefully we got our defensive line, pressure back. We got our linebacking core back, obviously Drake Greenlaw being out, Devondre Campbell, we'll see how he looks, stepping up, and D Winters is also out. So we'll see what that looks like. I mean, anyways, yeah, I mean, to your point, yeah, the Niners have been consistently great historically, and I mean, now we have to see, can this team do what they can do? But to your point, I mean, there's so much great memories, that these great players, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Steve Young have instilled. You see franchises like the Bears who have not been able to have a great quarterback and still win, obviously Super Bowls with like a Jim McMahon, right? And I
Yeah,
mean, ultimately now, I mean, like obviously that Rex Grossman, they had Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler is obviously, in my opinion, their best quarterback in franchise history. You know, so I mean, I think, I mean, at least the modern era. So I think, kind of, yeah, to your point, it's good, when you have teams like this, like Niners. I feel like Niners fans were spoiled because we expect to be in the NFC Championship every year, which we have been for the last 5 seasons. We expect to win the Super Bowl, which have been 2 out of the last 4 seasons. So, I mean, ultimately, man, I mean, I don't know, man. We're gonna see how this team looks today. We're gonna see how they shape out. I'm not changing my Super Bowl pick. Obviously, everyone's hot on Kansas City. They look really good. I would not be shocked if they do
Kansas
three-peat.
City, Kansas City is firing on all cylinders, and it's going to take. It's look. I'm going to tell you right now. It's going to take 4 teams, and we're not going to talk about any of the AFC teams. It's going to take
Mm-hmm.
4 teams to keep. The only 4 teams that I think in my mind. This is week 1, y'all. So cut me some slack here. When we get to because you guys are going to see us, okay? I'm going to be here. He's going to be here. You guys are going to see us, and we'll recap. I think we're gonna try for every week. If we can't do every week, it'll be every 2. We'll go
Get
over
the
both weeks if we have to.
wiggle bit. Yep.
And doing an hour here and there is not too hard for us anymore. We got a little bit older. Just a little bit
But we
since you
still
guys
look good,
started
baby.
watching.
We
Yeah,
still look good,
like
baby.
like I say, like we've been going 6 months and y'all barely noticed. So that's good. That means we put out enough content before so you guys because I check it and I'm like, man, this is still going up. This is still going
Yep.
up. I like this.
And speaking of, sorry, let me say this. Kudos to our new subscriber total. Thank you all. After the Super Bowl, we bumped up from 50 subscribers to over 102 subscribers. Thank you all for subscribing. Please share. Obviously, we do take donations if you want. Anyways, please share, subscribe. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
and you guys that watch, like we never beg for subscriptions, but let me explain this. The way the new algorithms work with YouTube is, and not just YouTube, but Spotify too. I want to say Spotify, we get a whole lot more spins and which the same people. Hey guys, it doesn't hurt you to subscribe. We only post once a week and we don't post a bunch of nonsense. So subscribe to us so you can get it immediately. You're not catching up on a video from 6 months ago because you just found us today. It's that simple. And I'll say it this way. And if you feel differently, you let me know. But if you guys who are watching are subscribed to us and you guys are showing up, we're going to show up even more and we're going to go harder and we're going to improve certain things. But we need the motivation to do that and the motivation is you guys giving us feedback and talking to us.
100%. No, thank you all for subscribing. Actually, let me shift gears for a bit before we close out this episode with the WWE. Obviously, last time we were on here, we are talking about Cody Rhodes' WrestleMania win. Now it's obviously been 6 months. And obviously, Gunther has now become the world champions at SummerSlam. He defended Bash at Berlin. Cody defended against Kevin Owens, and obviously now it's like Cody versus Jacob Fatu is coming up. What's your impression with this new kind of bloodline Roman Reigns comeback, and at SummerSlam and kind of the overall direction that they're going?
I think that it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that WWE isn't doing enough with it because they don't want bloodline burnout. But we don't, there's certain burnouts you don't get. You don't original NWO, we couldn't have burned out on it. Maybe they might have burned out on it, but we couldn't have burned out on it, not as the fans. The
Yeah.
DX, we never have DX burnout. We didn't have Hurt Business burnout. We didn't have Sanity burnout. We didn't have Wyatt burnout. I'm WWE in the powers that be that are listening. We love factions. We love factions because factions remind us that there are friends who are closer than family.
Yes, sir.
That it reminds us that there's always going to be one person that has my back, so don't screw me over. And a lot of us in this world don't necessarily have that anymore. And so growing up in the Attitude Era, the only person that was able to get away with don't trust anybody is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
100%.
And the only reason why he was able to get over with it is because he didn't follow any plan. He was just chaos. He was the agent of chaos in WWE. You know, not everything was great in the Attitude Era, just like everything isn't great now. But I think the
But
major
Stone Cold Steve
difference,
Austin is the greatest wrestler of all time. Sorry, continue going.
like I do believe that the writing in a lot of ways is the storytelling itself is better right now. But
Yeah.
I do think that the believability of the storylines, even the hooky spooky stuff, even that stuff was great. I don't know if WWE can get most of that over right now if it's not a Wyatt. If it's not a Wyatt, if it's not the return of Taker, I don't know if they can get it over. I think that Wyatt was quote unquote blessed by Taker to continue being the spooky guy in the room.
Yeah.
I think that WWE is doing a good job with mixing realism with the social media and people's lives and the things the wrestlers are allowed to have public relationships now, and they weren't in the past. There was very few on-screen couples that were even real couples. Now, almost all of them are actual couples. Almost all of them. Dominic Mysterio doesn't count.
Well, no, he's engaged, but his fiance is not a wrestler. So.
Yeah, his fiance's not a wrestler, and if she was, she'd be on television.
Right.
That's just how it goes, and it's how it goes, y'all. Wrestling is not the same as every other sport. Nepotism exists, and the sport is better for it. And it's the only sport that I do like nepotism in is wrestling. We love a good old third generation superstar, and that brings me to my end, which is, rest in peace, Afa and Sika. We didn't get to say goodbye to you guys like we did everybody else over the season. And I loved seeing them be all old together on stage with Roman and the nephews and the cousins. I loved it. And I'm not Samoan. I'm not a Pacific Islander, but I've always followed the Samoan wrestlers because we didn't have any good black ones. And then, I'm not saying the guys couldn't wrestle. I'm saying that the black characters weren't portrayed in the same light as all the other characters.
Until
And
you had Ron Simmons.
Ron Simmons is a gem of a man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And hope he has a much longer life because you need him. But when The Rock came around and those guys, I'm gonna be the only one that says it. The Samoans were black substitutes, and that's how
Absolutely.
everybody saw them. That's how the WWE saw them. That's kind of how they still do see them.
Yeah.
They're better, but that's how they're booked, guys, whether you like it or not. And that's fine because those are who those people really are. That's who they act like. That's who they are. You get to see the Samoans. They turn it up a little bit. Yeah, it's entertainment. I mean, you don't think that Aaron Donald really walks around with helmets in his hand every day, do you? You know what I'm saying? No, Myles Garrett doesn't either. Thought I forgot about you, Myles. Yeah, no, I didn't. At the end of the day, we're trying to have fun with the product. Let people enjoy things. Rest in peace to the people that we've lost. I know we lost Alpha, we lost Sika, we lost Sid Vicious, we lost the Iron Sheik. We talked about him. Who else? Who else? I know we're missing one, aren't we?
Sid Vicious.
I said Sid Vicious.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I mean, Psycho was a big one for me. So I was.
I think it was just older people at that point.
Yeah, Psycho Sid, man, that one hurt. I mean, I'm like, golly, that was good. I was
Sid,
watching this. Hmm?
Sid was not a very technical wrestler. Sid was not the most dynamic person in the ring, but Sid is an example of having a presence, having a personality being a cool guy and not having to tell everybody how cool you are. Sid was an example of, you know what? He's not even that good, but that's why I want him to win. He's got personality.
Yeah, basically kind of like Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, because, same, similar size, similar build, the big kind of, bruising dude, but he has so much swag. And Sid obviously actually had like one of the greatest kind of, kind of acting segments in 1999 or 2000,
Yes, he
whatever it
did.
was.
Yes, he
Yeah,
did.
Goldberg! And so,
Hey, it was impossible not to like Sid. Like, Sid was the prototypical guy that, like, hey, you don't mess with him. He's gonna kill you.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Just be his friend. Just be his friend because he's gonna kill you if you. And that he was one of the nicest guys in the world, which what makes it even better.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes it even better. The nicest guy in the world is also one of the most dangerous. You know what I mean? So we love that, and I'm hoping that all the other greats. I hope you guys have long, happy lives, and can't mourn too much of certain players or certain athletes because they had long lives. And they did everything they wanted to do in their life. They enjoyed their life. It just we remember. It just reminds us that not only are we not going to see you in the ring again, but we're not going to see you at all.
Yeah. Tough pill to swallow. Tough pill to swallow. But obviously, rest in peace, all you legends, and for the memories you gave us. And yeah, I mean, especially Sid. I remember I was watching the Shawn Michaels, 1995, bodyguard segment. I was like standing around in the Super Bowl. I was watching 1995 clip, and they showed that one, and then I was like, "Oh my God, what is this?" And Vince and Jay and King were basically on the mic, saying, "Oh, what is disgusting," and Sid and. Yeah, man. Like I said, charisma, everything. Like you said, we're gonna miss all of them, right? Alpha Seeker, Sid, rest in peace to everybody, and ultimately,
Okay, guys, I know we don't have time for this, and I'm not going to go into this, but I'm going to leave you guys with a nugget for those that watch both pods that we do, which under this, the name of the show. I've seen a lot of things over the last couple of years in wrestling, especially in this little hiatus, and I got to go ahead and say, Ali, you were right. You were right. AEW is trash.
I'm sorry, bro.
AEW is trash, and I don't want to hate it, but dude, AEW was 5 minutes away from my house, and I didn't go. I had a free ticket. I had a free ticket to All Out. I had a free ticket to All Out in less than a 2-mile drive to get there. Less than 2 miles. I didn't go.
Oof.
I could have called off of work and went. I still didn't do that. And it's mostly, and now I'm glad that I didn't, because apparently that was one of the most violent shows on U.S. soil in history. Major shows.
And I feel like they're trying to overcompensate because, like, you have John Moxley doing the blading and he plays every week and he has an explanation. It's like, and then it's like,
it only worked with Ric Flair.
And that's the thing, like, because John Moxley, I guess, is trying to be like Mick Foley, but then he's also trying to show technical ability. So he thinks he's like a Ric Flair hybrid when he really kind of isn't, if we're being honest. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. And like to your point, right? I watched one of the shows recently. I saw Roderick Strong and what are they called? The Undisputed Era? Is that what they called? The whole faction?
Undisputed Kingdom.
Undisputed Kingdom. Yeah, I watched them. I mean, Roderick can still work. Kenny, not really good on the mic. I'm not really sure where that storyline's going with who they're feuding. I don't know who they're feuding with. Obviously, Eddie Kingston, these guys, MJF. I love Swerve.
Did Kenny come off the bench?
He can't. I don't know. No, I think he's still out. And obviously, I watched Swerve. Swerve's a great champion. I've been a fan of Swerve since, obviously Swerve City podcast back when he was on WWE, the WWE Network, one of my favorite shows. Him taking the belt from Joe was great. Samoa Joe, I'm happy he became world champion. Tony Storm's a great talent from the female side, but I'll give the performers their due. But kind of when we talked to Justin Credible last year, what did he say? Tony Khan has the fucking the responsibility, which he puts on his own shoulders, to write Dynamite, All In, All Out in every single pay-per-view, 3 shows a week. And Justin remember what he told us, right? Last year when we had him on? He said, I don't know how he does it. And I'm sitting here to this day, 1 year later, after that interview, And I'm just trying to reconcile that, and I don't know how he does it. And I don't know if you know how he does it. And I'm trying to question, why does he do it? And like, I really think you need to delegate, man. And I feel like maybe he's trying to be like a Vince, where it's like, Vince back in the Attitude Era, all, full end to end control. But Vince is a once in a generation type of visionary, man. Like, I mean, I was in Hollywood last week.
I get it. I get the blueprint.
Okay.
I get the blueprint of how Vince did things and how it made him successful. I
Right.
think that the business itself changed, and you can't do that anymore if you want to win.
Right.
You're not going to beat WWE without you're not going to beat WWE by parodying them. You're not going to beat WWE by throwing jabs at them, and you're definitely not going to beat WWE with foreign stars that we haven't been invested in, because guess what? We didn't have it until most recently to be able to watch these guys. I remember trying to watch New Japan shows because Jericho was on them, and I wasn't able to watch them. And New Japan is so bogus about copyright strikes on their videos that I can't get in touch with them. I don't have Japanese television. I don't know what they're doing over there.
Yep,
and
me too.
if it wasn't for the Bullet Club, most of us never would have started watching Japanese at all. Now, mind you, I was watching it before that, and so were you, but we don't have access to it daily, and I'm not paying for it.
And like, to your point about that, I feel like the indies and the small promotions, so AEW is like marquee, like kind of small, like alternative promotion to WWE for anyone who's looking for like more adult themed. And WWE, actually, to your point about Attitude, is actually getting back to that. I've seen that shift. Then Triple H has taken over the control. I've seen that shift, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think slowly but surely, they're going to move back to the TV 14 rating for TV PG. But anyways,
look, they're going to tell people that they're not going to do it, and then week 1 on Netflix, something crazy is going to happen.
That's where I was going. Thank you for making that point. That's exactly what I was going.
And I'm going to tell you what else is up.
Yeah,
they're on Netflix, and Netflix is only going to have one live show.
Yeah,
and that's Raw. On top of that, Netflix has a lot of extra money because most of the people who end up on Netflix developed their own projects. The Netflix can create a Netflix original that's in their budget to where WWE can do whatever they want. And I'm going to tell you what's going to come back. Mark my words. We will see the Hardcore Championship back, even if it's a produced after Raw 30-minute addition to Raw of the 24/7, not 24/7. We'll never see that again. The Hardcore Championship. And I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year, but Triple H, I guarantee you Triple H brings back 2 titles, the Hardcore Championship and the European Championship.
I hope he does. I have it right here, the European.
Yeah, right there. I guarantee you it comes back. And it's not because of anything other than, number one, wrestling is a business. And the more belts you have to sell, the more money you can make. And guess who sells the most the belts? WWE sells the most belts. WWE sells belts to your favorite team. They sell belts to my favorite team. They sell belts to your colleges. They sell belts to your high schools if you got a good enough high school. They present every champion in the major leagues with a custom title. It used to be the WWE Championship. Now it's a custom fan title that you can buy, that you also see on television with your favorite team. And WWE lets you know you can buy it before the season starts. So if you guys do win, you got that at your party. You got that at the Super Bowl. You get to carry that for the whole next week while you guys celebrate your Super Bowl victory. Talk about smart business.
100%.
And I like belts. I'll never have too many belts.
I don't know if I can see that. I have, let me count. Let me have to go there. We have how many? Go ahead and watch on YouTube if you can see that. Let me go up a little bit. There we go. We got Cody's up there. He signed that. And then you got Ken Shamrock's right there. So you got the Undisputed, the Cena US spinner. And you got the big gold belt, the World Heavyweight.
You got the US concept, too.
Yes, sir. You see that. The US World Heavyweight, that's your favorite. I got that because my boy wanted it. So I got it just to make him feel jealous. and then
he knows I wanted that title.
Yeah. And I got that just because, and they stopped making it. So when you was about to buy it, they stopped making it.
Yeah, I was gonna buy it and they stopped making it. So I'm
and you got the Bret Hart Wing Eagle, you got all that. So back to your point, I think the merchandising is definitely genius for WWE, right? I think kind of, when I see like these new college child belts that they just came out with, right? The the NFL team belts, right? All these different types of belts that they have at their disposal, it makes it, as a fan, to think, wow, like, I can have this. And that's what I did. I have like all these, and I mean, if I see them, I want more. They have the Undertaker Luna belt. I want to get more. I ran out of space.
I want more. I want Roman Reigns' commemorative title. I want
Yeah,
that belt so bad, but I don't want to pay $1,500 to get
that's the
it.
problem,
But
right?
there are
Yeah,
people who have that type of disposable income for their hobbies to buy it, and they will, and it'll sell out. And WWE knows this. So I will say this, and I will be the nicest that I possibly can about this. The Yankees are good because the Yankees have money.
yep,
Dallas is watchable because Dallas has money.
yep.
I can't act like I won't watch a Cowboys game. I might not finish it, but I'm going to start the game. You
You have
know,
to.
that's just how it goes. I watched them very close last year because I was watching the race between them and San Francisco. And then when it got down to the playoff game, I was like, man, they meet in the playoffs. It's going to be bonkers.
Yeah,
So,
I was actually rooting for an NFC championship between Dallas and San Francisco. I keep telling my
so
boy
was
that, and
I.
then
So was
yeah, and then I
I.
don't know what the fuck happened. I mean, yeah, Dallas shit the bed. That's what happened.
You
Good.
you win some, you win some, you lose some. But if you're betting
Well,
on
Dallas
Dallas, you're
has the
gonna lose your
bed. I mean,
money.
Dallas hasn't made it out of the divisional round in what 30 years. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Not gonna win. You're not. You're not. They're watchable because they have money, and Jerry World is a circus. In AEW, your merchandise is trash. It's not premium, and
Yep.
and this is coming from somebody that procures merchandise. I like merchandise. I love merch. I love it. And so does just about everybody else watching. We love merch. We like cool things. Like I said, I have custom gloves made for my team. You know, my little this is for a flag football team. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody loves merch, man. And WWE is they pump out more merch than anyone else. They pump out more merch than NFL, NBA, and MLB combined. Fanatics makes more money off WWE than they do off of sports.
They do.
And so when you continually put out new stuff, like if you wanted every Stone Cold shirt, you'd still be buying. That says a lot, doesn't it?
It does.
I
You know,
could not have every I couldn't have every Stone Cold shirt. I couldn't have every Rock shirt. It's starting to get to the point where I couldn't have all the Bloodline shirts either.
yeah.
And that was only like a year and a half long. You know what I mean? Like a continuous bloodline. I think we only had a cohesive bloodline for a year and a half.
Right.
You know, the rest of the time they were infighting. You know, even at the end of the run, they were infighting.
And then even now they might start infighting. I mean, we'll see.
They're about to start infighting. Roman came back. Dude, I just know we're about to get swerved. I don't know how, but we're about to get swerved. Don't
Yeah.
know how. And I know the reason why the story has been a little bit stagnant over the last couple of weeks. One, they all had to attend Sika's funeral, right?
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Alpha died before Sika. They had to attend Sika's funeral literally like 2 months after attending Alpha's funeral. You know, Roman came off vacation a little bit early. Rock hasn't been back yet, and he will. Remember, he's a part of the board. He's not just a legend. He's a
No,
part
no,
of the
he's
board. He'll
coming.
be
No,
back.
the whole. Remember after WrestleMania, The Raw, what he did? He took something out of his pocket, gave it to Cody. You don't need me to
They,
open my hand, know what this is. Don't ever break my heart again, or The Rock's heart again.
yeah,
And he walked out,
yeah.
and then so yeah,
They
that's the
have,
build. That's long term
yeah.
story
You
stuff.
know,
Yeah,
that's long-term storytelling. You have The Rock is not going to show up to face Cody until Cody loses. I don't
yeah.
think Cody goes into WrestleMania as a WWE champion. I know it's going to break people's hearts, but I don't think Cody goes into WrestleMania as a WWE champion. And if he does, he's not losing. That's just how it's going
Well,
to work, guys.
let me offer you this. What do you think about this proposal, which I'm thinking about, which I was talking about, my friend was talking about, on a Wrestle Forum the other day, which got me a lot of reactions. What if they make Cody the champion heading into WrestleMania? The Rock comes back like he did this year in January to take over the bloodline as a heel leader with a faction. And then basically Cody and Roman align. They form an alliance. And then basically then you have The Rock with Solo, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa versus Cody, Roman, and the Usos.
I will tell you
As
why I don't agree with that.
what?
The Rock did a face turn on his last Monday Night Raw.
Did he really? I think that was a heel turn, no?
No, bro, dude. What's one thing you don't do as a champion? Nobody. Remember, this is long-term storytelling. We're talking about this goes back to 1997
Mm-hmm.
and 1998. The
Yeah.
Rock was in a feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and both of them had a really bad habit of stealing the championship from each other.
Yeah.
And one of the main rules was, well, if I have the belt, I'm the champion. The Rock
Yeah,
would never hand over his title to anyone unless it was a friendly thing.
that's a good point.
Now, here's the thing. The Rock already capitulated to Roman Reigns. It doesn't make sense for The Rock to turn on Roman.
But let me ask you this: do you think it makes sense to kind of if he buys into Solo's kind of manifesto, right? The the Roman failed. He failed the family. We need to restore the glory. The Rock comes to aid Solo. But the problem is, you know what? I think you're right because the problem is I don't know if Solo is credible enough as a leader to when Roman told The Rock to acknowledge him, everyone was like, okay, yeah, we buy that.
You know
The Rock.
what's this is Triple H that we're talking about. I'm
Right.
going to tell you something that nobody has said, and you guys document it, and this will be my final statement. Roman Reigns is not coming back as a face.
Mm.
Roman Reigns is going to make you think he's coming back as a face. Roman's going to take out Solo and take over his bloodline. Do I think the OGs rally behind anyone? No. I think that Jimmy is used as a pawn. I think that Jay stays where he's at. I think that Hikuleo debuts, and I think that that not Jacob Fatu. Who was the other one? The younger brother. Zika.
Gosh. Yeah.
Zika
No.
Fatu. I think Zika Fatu debuts, and I think that there's an internal bloodline civil war. I don't think that we're ever going to see the OG bloodline again, at least not anytime soon.
And you guys can't see this on my wall behind me, but you might have seen the IC belt, which is signed by the father of all the Fatus, Rikishi, WWE Hall of Famer. I saw it was one of the greatest experiences meeting 2 years ago and The Godfather. And I think to your point, yeah, a lot more young talents coming out.
Or there's a very high possibility that the Fatus align against the rest of the family.
See, that's where you see Jacob Fatu. That's where I'm seeing this. I'm seeing maybe it's Fatu, Jacob.
Cody started it.
When Zika or Zilla, whatever he goes by, whenever he debuts,
he changes his name up every day. So you're gonna have Zilla,
yeah,
Solo, Jay and Jimmy.
right.
You have 4, and then you'll have Hikuleo if he chooses to go with the Fatus.
If he does,
I can
yeah.
see that bloodline civil war because it would make a lot more sense to have the Fatus against the rest of everyone else. But I don't know if you have outside of Jacob and Jay, I don't know if you have the same star power if you're going against The Rock, if you're going against Roman, if you're going against the Tongans. I don't know if you have the same ability to do the Fatus versus the other bloodline. I think that it would make a lot more sense if Roman took back this bloodline and maybe Jimmy came back. But I don't think that Jay would ever come back under these circumstances unless he was doing nothing in one Monday nights.
And I think to that point, I mean, that's that's a very good point, because, I'm trying to think, that's the whole issue, the star power. I think that everyone didn't want Solo. I think Solo's role is not to plant Roman as a leader of the bloodline. Solo's role is to make you hate him so much, and he's not Roman, and he doesn't have the star power of Roman, and he's not that guy, that you just want him to just get his ass whooped, even if he's not champion. It's almost crazy
Exactly.
because
like Solo's not going to be a star until like 5 years from now, and
yeah,
I know you guys are like not you obviously because you watch wrestling, but
yeah,
Solo's not going to be a star until about 5 years from now, and the same way The Rock wasn't a star for a couple of years, and Solo won't be a star at the Bloodline. Solo will probably become victim to The Rock. If I'm gonna keep it 100, I think The Rock would destroy. I can see two things going this way. I think The Rock would destroy Solo for Roman, and that'll bring it back to I did it for The Rock.
yeah.
That like we're talking about super long-term storytelling, and I can see The Rock destroying Solo, and then Jimmy and Jay having a problem with it because that's their brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can see Jacob being like, well, I'm not really in this, but that's my boy too.
I mean, that's
And
very, very.
I can see a Roman, Rock, and Cody alliance, along with like maybe even Kevin Owens and and Sami Zayn, but I just don't see the OG bloodline linking back up unless WWE just wants to pay off fan service. And they just haven't been good at fan service. So, I mean, look what they did to Cody. They're not good at fan service, bro.
Yeah, and I think to your point, one more thing which came to my mind with Kevin KO. Do you think KO is also being set up for a long-term heel turn? Because that's what I think the Bash of Berlin fans wanted, that instant gratification heel turn, KO, boom.
When's the last time we got a heel KO?
Gosh, I can't. Was it 5, 6 years now? Is that right? Is it because 2021 he was feuding with Roman for the belt as a face. Late 2020 he was a face. I don't remember his last. Yeah, I think it was at least like 6 years ago, 7 years. I don't even know.
I think his last heel turn was when he was fighting with Jericho, and then he was fighting with, because remember Jericho's last like hurrah was with Kevin Owens.
Yeah, that was, and that's why Jericho left.
The Festival of Friendship.
You remember Jericho wanted the KO and his match at WrestleMania 33 to basically it was actually going to be the main event.
He wanted to pay it off. Yes, he wanted to pay that off.
But then they moved it when Goldberg and Lesnar came back, and when Goldberg came back, they wanted Goldberg Lesnar 3. Then basically Jericho was really upset with Vince pushing it up to like the mid card, like
they
the
were
top.
They were the two top champions in WWE at the time. Was Jericho? Jericho made the U.S. title look like the world title.
Jericho made anything look great. The IC belt, everything. Golly,
like
Jericho.
You just knew that if Jericho had it, and he proved it by elevating the AEW championship to make us watch it. We watched it for Jericho.
That's the truth. And you know what? He said that. He said that this is my experiment. I'm going to go to this company that no one knows about, and I'm going to see if I can make this. And honestly, because he's still there, fans are still plugging in. Because Jericho
during Jericho's run, and everybody's going to be mad about this, Jericho's run eclipsed Roman's. I don't care what anybody thinks. Jericho's run at the beginning, we're talking about in space, in time, not the longevity of the run. But in space, in time, Jericho's run was much more talked about than Roman's run.
Mm-hmm.
Roman's run didn't really get going until after Jericho's time as champion was over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because, let's face the facts, who bought into Hangman Page as the greatest wrestler in the world? Did you?
Nope.
Do you buy into Swerve Strickland being the greatest wrestler in the world?
Absolutely not.
MJF is great, but he's not the greatest wrestler in the world. Not yet.
He's hot, but he's not, in my opinion, not the greatest. So,
if you told me to choose between MJF and LA Knight, I'm picking LA Knight.
Oh, all day, all fucking day and night. Yeah.
If I had to choose between them, I'd probably pick the Miz over MJF. If we're gonna talk about heel wrestlers who the I'm better than you shtick, MJF, that's cool and all, but have you seen Miz's life? It's kind of hard to argue with that. You know, that's why he works such a great heel, because you can hate the man because his life is perfect.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Does he work really hard to make a perfect life? Yes, he does. I'm going to give Miz that. I'm a Miz lover. I'm not a Miz hater. Just for the record, I love the Miz. Everybody knows that. You know, been watching him since the Real World. That was my first my first experience with dating was watching the Real World as a kid. You know, and then growing up, and then, you know, that was I learned how to talk to girls like that. You remember David? Come on, be my baby tonight. That's all I can sing. You know it's copyrighted by MTV. We're not doing that.
It's all good. YouTube posts the copyrights in the video, so it doesn't matter. Whatever. You know, if it posts, it posts. It auto detects, so we're good.
That's what I see. I don't think the company has been the same without Kenny Omega. I think that he was the next highest profile champion after Jericho, especially when he went around the world taking everyone's titles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't see TNA having a working relationship with AEW anymore. I think that the NXT partnership with TNA has a whole lot better for TNA than the AEW one was.
Well, I mean, especially with Dolph there, kind of running things. You know, I love seeing Dolph, you know, with that belt. He looks really good with that belt.
Yeah, and they have a great supporting cast in TNA. TNA is actually exciting.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see, you know, Muscle Mommy, you know, Jordan Grace, you know.
Yeah.
You know, she's a captivating character. It's not even about the way she looks. It's a captivating character. I don't care how she looks. I don't care how big her muscles are. When she's actually just being Jordan Grace, she's great. I don't care so much for the heel version of it, but I like regular Jordan Grace. I think she's a pretty cool person, as far as how she presents her product. I'm not a big fan of Moose, but Moose is an old school wrestler type. He's got that old school mentality to him. You could feel that like he believes in Moose. You know what I'm saying? He's an imposing presence. Don't think he's that great on the mic, but he's not bad. I feel like Moose is an old school NWA style wrestler, and I like that. So that's just what it is. I might not necessarily be like he's the most captivating guy on the roster. No. Do I miss Jonathan Gresham a little bit? Yeah, that dude was interesting. Married to Jordan Grace, by the way. That's his wife. Do I think that the some of the knockouts are on the way up? Yeah. Do I think that Nick Nemeth, aka Dolph Ziggler, is doing his thing over there? Yes, I do. And I think that there's a breakout sensation. Don't say his name. Because he will appear. And I do believe in Joe Hendry.
Joe Hendry. It's the Joe Hendry experiment, the trend. Can't deny it. Love it. Yes. Perfect.
Say his name and he appears.
Yeah, he's on the up and up. So I agree with that. Yep.
And he's doing it on both stations. So I gotta give him that. And that's where I'm gonna leave y'all today. Watch the game. It comes on in 20 minutes.
Yes, sir. Game comes on 20 minutes. You guys probably won't be able to watch this. You'll probably watch the pregame, but you'll probably watch hopefully after the game. But thank you all who did tune in.
Yeah.
Watch us tonight.
See if we were right.
Yeah, see if we're right. Thank you all who did tune in. Once again, follow us at DDOG Podcast on Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Share, subscribe, like. I'm your host, Asif. My co-host, Cortez Brand Jr. We are signing off.
Peace out, y'all. All right, bro.